What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today we are finally listening to The Ninth Wave by Kate Bush, the side 2 suite of 7 songs, yes it is 7, I counted, which was released on her album Hounds of Love, 1985. I wish that I had more to say before we embark on this journey, except that yes, I read all the comments and I'm going to be doing, all the songs, all 7 songs in the suite. Of course, I cannot thank you guys enough for not only choosing this channel and continually coming back and enjoying the videos, but for liking the videos, for subscribing, for continuously coming back, for engaging with not only myself but also each other in the comments. I couldn't ask for a better community, and I really do appreciate that. And also for those of you who have donated to the channel, there's just no measure of things I can give to you for that. It really does help me out, and maybe one day reaching towards a goal of growing this and expanding this into something maybe a little bigger. Perhaps after I finish this, what other Kate Bush albums should I go for next? Anyways, I'm gonna go change the battery because I don't think it's gonna last the whole thing. But you guys can join me on Twitter, you guys can join me in the comments down below, and I really hope you do. Once again, thank you so much for choosing this channel to watch. I hope that you enjoy the video. It's a first listen. I'm probably gonna miss something in it, but I'm gonna do the best I can. But without further ado, you guys have been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. Let's not hold it up any longer. This is The Ninth Wave, all 7 songs continuously by Kate Bush. Let me go change the battery. I'm so sorry. I actually thought there was more to it. Oh man, I didn't mean to mess up at the end there, but I was involved in the story. Wow. I actually wish it went on longer. No, no, just wow. That was such a, man, I don't even know where to start. That was such a fascinating journey of a song, of a suite, of a side of an album. That was just a fascinating odyssey and epic of music. And there's so much to talk about in it. There's a lot. I need to go do the battery thing because it was 26 minutes. It only lasts 29. Give me 1 second, I'll be back. Man, how do you guys feel after that? I was trying to make mental notes of certain parts and certain aspects. And after a while, I started getting just kind of lost in the music, just kind of lost in Kate's narrative and the story of this person lost at sea. I actually looked up what it was about, and I actually listened to an interview from Kate Bush from the BBC the day before doing this song, just because I didn't want to go into this completely blind, actually. I actually wanted to understand what Kate was trying to accomplish, maybe a little bit of her internal thoughts in putting this song together, because wow, what a concept to bring this all together. So I don't know where to begin except at the start. I absolutely love the concept that Kate has written out for us. I love the idea of survival, especially such a seemingly simple story. Someone ending up in the water, ending up isolated and alone, adrift at sea with no hope really in sight, just waiting for someone to come and save her. And then the psychological war, the internal struggle that begins in that character's mind as they're waiting to be rescued. What goes through their mind? What do they feel? Of course, just the fight for survival physically, but mentally. What kind of toll is it taking on them? What are their thoughts? What's happening? And the way that Kate does this is just in this giant metaphor that I love. She has so much symbolism packed into this story, so much symbolism packed into the songs and the music, because it'd be really easy to write this story in a super literal way, where it is literally the tale of someone trying to survive in the open sea as they're adrift. The way that Kate does it brings in some nuance to the story, brings in something a little deeper, something that, as a listener, you can always come back to and try to analyze, try to listen for new sounds and new meanings. As you grow as a person, you find new meanings in some of the songs. And the constant barrage of symbolism that we get, the imagery that I'm sure all of us are able to see in our mind, is astonishing in the way that it's done. Kate has a certain way of writing that she gives you she tells you what she's saying, but she leaves enough room in her writing that you can fill in the blanks with your own mind. Kind of like how a good writer would do. A good writer can of course lay out the characters, lay out the story, describe every single strand of hair on them, describe the rocks that they're standing on, describe the setting to a T. Or they can leave just enough space that they allow you to input your own personal meanings and your own personal life into it. Your interpretations, the way that you see it. And that's what Kate does, and she masters with her writing. Also, I just want to say before I forget, her music, and I don't know the timeline. I haven't looked it up, and I'm not going to look it up to be honest. But her music reminds me a lot of Peter Gabriel's, and I know they've worked together, but they have this way of constructing songs that are really like a pure form of art. Like they sound kind of poppy, and I don't mean poppy like catchy, but they're almost constructed as pop songs, whether it's in a ballad or an upbeat, bass-driven ending like it does on the end of the suite. The artfulness that they draw around it that makes it so like intriguing to listen to. And that really keeps you coming back on more than just a surface listening level. There is so much depth to Kate Bush's suites here, to the songs in this, that I feel like that I know for sure that I'm not going to be able to get everything that I wanted to get or talk about everything that I wanted to talk about in these songs. But I know like on repeated listens, I'm going to be listening to something and be like, oh man, I should have said that. Like, that feeling, like I'm going to have that feeling talking about it. So one thing that I did want to say is something that Kate said regarding this song. She says that really for me, from the beginning, The Ninth Wave was a film. That's how I thought about it. So, just that line, I think is so telling about the way that this story is crafted. This whole side of the album, specifically this side of the album, is so visual. It's so cinematic. You can really picture everything that's happening as the story progresses. And even though it's not necessarily in a like purely linear fashion that everything's structured and presented to us, it's not necessarily A, B, C, D, E. It's kind of like A, then B, then C, then a little bit of D, and then like you still get from the start to the finish, but it's the journey where all the nuance lies. With her akinning this to a film or to a movie, how much does the music play a part in the actual visual part of it? Because a good movie has great music. If you took away the music, you would realize just how much of the movie depends on the music. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are more visual learners than auditory or anything else or sensory or whatever. What kind of movie could stand if you actually took away the visual part of it and just left the music? For Kate Bush's The Ninth Wave, you get that. That's what a movie would look like or sound like if the actual visual aspect was taken away and you were just left with the music which tells the story. Because she does it perfectly. And also, before I begin to talk about the music directly, because I'm trying to get all the other stuff out the way because I'm going to forget it later on, The Dreaming, which I had listened to already from Kate Bush, is a very interesting album, but I feel that it's also very pure and from her soul. It's very soul-bearing. Now, I love the first half of this album. Do not get me wrong. I absolutely love the first half of this album. It's actually pretty much near perfect. And let me know if you agree or disagree. I feel like the second half is really Kate at her most honest and artistic. Like, it's here that I feel that she was able to really expand on the artful direction that she was taking this album. It allows her ideas and this cinematic experience that she's been building to really take flight the way that she wants it to be. I don't know how much, label or studio input they had on her music. I have no idea, and I'm not going to pretend to know. But I can say that this sounds like Kate Bush as Kate Bush doing Kate Bush things. The song In Dream of Sheep immediately opens with the story already begun. There's no setup as to why, there's no setup as to how. It has already started. We are just casual observers into the mindset of the character of Kate Bush. So the song even begins, little light shining, little light will guide them to me. Already we begin the story with her in the water. She's already capsized, she's already lost at sea. We're immediately given perspective into her feelings at this point. She's cold, she's wet, she's lost, she's hopeful, she's hoping. Like she says, little light shining. You can imagine the boaters. Is that what they're called, boaters? You can imagine the ships shining lights over the darkened sea, trying to find her, perhaps finding pieces of the wreckage, but not quite seeing her. I love how it says, my face is all lit up. Their light has passed her. The light shined on her face, which should give her hope, but they pass her by, mistaking her, as she says, like for a buoy in the water. That immediate setup, can you imagine the hopelessness that Kate would feel in the open ocean? You see the boats, they're looking for you, and the light shines on you, and you're like, yes, they found me, but then it passes by, just as your hope passes by. and I'm going to mention this a lot of times throughout this, so just bear with me, but the way that Bush sings is so perfect. She captures every single emotion, every feeling. She captures it so perfectly in her singing, and also the piano playing and the music behind it as well, and that's like throughout the whole thing. The way that she just warbles a little bit on the end, like, no, it was not good. But you can imagine like she's hopeful at first, and then as the light passes, she's like, oh, like disappointed. She's lost hope. She's despair now. And then even her vocals when she says, "Let me be weak, let me sleep." You can hear the radio chatter behind her as the search party's looking and perhaps goes distant, goes further and further away. And she says very weakly, "Let me be weak, let me sleep." At that point, she's given up hope and she's allowing herself to succumb to the elements. We get a perfect little window into her mind at this point, where she says even, "I'll wake up to the sound of engines, every goal-seeking craft. I can't keep my eyes open, wish I had my radio." So it's super interesting to me to look into the psychology of Kate at this point as she's in the water, to still have a little bit of hope. You know, they're still searching, they're still out there, but for right now, I just need to sleep. I just need to rest. I wish I had my radio. She starts to think about like the little things. I just wish I had my radio. I don't even think that she's necessarily talking about like a radio to contact them. I think that she's talking about a radio just to like pass the time. And actually in the next verse, she says, you know, she just wants to listen to friendly voices talking about stupid things. Of course, whatever the radio personalities would be talking about now are going to be stupid in relation to her situation. Ooh, that rhymed. So it's a beautiful entrance into this suite. It's very ballad-like. Every once in a while we get a guitar that comes in and picks through. It sounds very beautiful. It lulls you to sleep, but not necessarily the type of sleep you want to be lulled into. And then we get into Under Ice. Ooh, I like the way Under Ice begins. Under ice. So immediately we get the idea of her being submerged. See, she has allowed herself to sink to the depths below. Now, whether that's literally or not, I don't know. But at least in some capacity, she is underwater now. She has allowed herself to let go. And the way that these violins creak is so eerie. As the tempo increases in those strings, especially in the beginning, you can imagine her slowly falling. And it's almost like the panic starts to set in. We start to get that panic feeling in our heart, the anxiety. And come on, strings like this are perfect for building anxiety. Throughout this song, and I believe another song later on, she has a lot of self-reflective moments. And I mean that in like a literal way. Like this song, you know, Under Ice. So what is under the ice? What's under the frozen water? Well, first of all, when I think of frozen ice, you think of like looking up and there's ice there. There's literally something unbreakable. You can't break past it, right? You're panicking, you're trying to get out of it. Now, even though in the story, Kate Bush isn't necessarily under ice, literally, she is under something that seems impenetrable, like she'll never get out or free from. So the water is like ice. And going back to the self-reflection perspective, she says that she's speeding past the trees. She talks about herself skating on ice, only her. So you get the perspective from above, you get the perspective from below. She can imagine herself on the other side of the ice, maybe in a more hopeful situation. But near the ending verses of the song, Kate, imagining herself on top, looks down and realizes that there's something underneath. She realizes that something underneath is her. I love this little realization. She says, "It's me, get out of the cold water. It's me, get out, like, do something." In Dream of Sheep, she allowed herself maybe to drift off, and where she had this dream. But then she's kind of coming to the realization in that dream that she needs to like wake up. She needs to get out and do something. I love the way that the section builds up with the strings, but also with those backing vocals, because you can imagine like Kate's natural instinct, her body, her survival instincts are telling her, wake up, get up. And then like she's kind of waking up like to the realization like, it's me, I do need to wake up, I need to wake up. And then Waking the Witch. First of all, that wake up, it kind of threw me off guard for a second. It was like it was telling me to wake up. Waking the Witch is such an interesting song. It has so many layers. This is like, to me, like the first truly progressive song on here. And it's only 4 minutes long. Now, I know the whole thing I would consider like art pop, maybe into progressive pop. But this song, Waking the Witch, is like the first like centerpiece of this epic that really feels like its own thing. All the other ones were good, but they all felt like they were leading up to something. This is like our first like mainstay. Getting back to story, really quick, I just need to say. The voices in the beginning, telling Kate to wake up. It is so perfect. It is so perfect. The way that all these random voices, seemingly random to me at first, are telling Kate to wake up. Now, she's in a dire situation. She's like on the verge of death in the water. Who are they? These are all voices and people from her life. These could be, this could be like, it sounds like the teacher at one point, a parent or a grandparent, a husband or a boyfriend. You get little peeks into different people in her life telling her to wake up. That is such an awesome way to recall the past. Yeah. See? Story, music. It's all coming together now. And then that's a shift. That's a shift. Every one of these songs has something to do with water. Even like if they're kind of vaguely related, they all come together and are connected by water. So even this song, Waking the Witch, first of all, I love a few things about this one. Music, great, love it. Has a really creepy atmosphere, especially with the vocal filters and layering going on. But it's at this point that I'm really imagining Kate like hallucinating. Like now she's kind of gone under, not necessarily water, but mentally and psychologically. Like she's kind of like dreaming. She's in Lost Land right now. But it's almost like she's viewing herself as being, what's the word? There's a certain word. Not interrogated, a more harsher term for interrogated. By some sort of religious figure here. And one thing I really think is super cool is the vocal filtering that's going on the perspective of that figure. How maybe it should be something of comfort, but it sounds very monstrous and very evil. And of course, this is all relating to the witch trials. For example, of course, the Salem witch trials. Now, I used to think that these were really cool. Like, not cool, not like that kind of cool. But I love history in the first place. And that was just an era and a certain time that I just thought was very interesting. The way that, accusing people of being witches and practicing this and doing that. It was very interesting the way that that was done. The reasons for it really like made up like non-reasons basically. Kate hears perhaps like the accuser. One of the ways that they tested to see if someone was a witch or not is they would basically like tie them to a stone or tie stones to their legs and throw them in the river or water. And basically, if I remember correctly, if they floated, they were a witch. But if they sank, they were normal. Now, if you tie a stone to anyone, they're gonna sink. So you were proven innocent, but you still died. Yeah, so it is that figure, that saying, poor little thing, the blackbird, wings in the water, go down, go down. So it sounds like a good thing, like he's hoping like she's human or she's, not a witch. But the way that it's being gone about, not really the best course of action. Kate singing during this part, especially during the climax of this song specifically, I just want to say is like incredibly powerful. The way that she shrieks some of her lyrics, from a vocal standpoint, I mean, insanely talented. But even from the story perspective, sounding like someone that is so desperate for help, someone that's sinking, tying right back to the main theme of it, but sounding like someone that's sinking against their will. The disparity, is that a word? The despair in her voice as she cries out, help. And it was here on the song Watching You Without Me that I really got like the Peter Gabriel vibe. Like this was the song that like made me think like, oh, there's a little influence somewhere. I don't know which way. I'm not going to look into it, but I'm just saying there's definitely. And also to me, this song is actually for me the most musically satisfying. It sounds a little bit like Mother Stands for Comfort from the first side of the album. I love this kind of tone, this slightly warped bass that plays. Here it's played not by Eberhard, but by Del Parma, I believe. No, this bass is played by Danny Thompson. Love the way that plays, the soft synth or piano, whatever it is. I love like how soft it is, this nice layer of ambience and this nice strong backing percussion. Her vocals are so mournful and so just tired at this point. I like that a lot. And we even get a little bit of almost a Wuthering Heights kind of story, almost a little Kathy in this one. When I first saw the title for this song, Watching You Without Me, it kind of gave me the idea of maybe she's looking at her partner moving on in life without her. So while she's at sea, she literally can't like see, but maybe she's just imagining like, man, I wonder what he's going to do now. What is he going to move on? Is he going to do this? What's he going to do? So it's a song mostly of quiet reflection, but it also has this creepy, unique vibe to it. To me, especially accentuated because of the way that the bass plays. It actually reminds me a little bit of David Sylvian's music, who you guys know is kind of my guy. All the empty gaps that are left, all the empty spacing, allowing for time to think, time to reflect. So lyrics where she says, "You watch the clock move, the slow hand. I should have been home hours ago, but I'm not here, I'm not here." She wants to know what's going to be his initial reaction when he finds out I'm not coming back. What is he doing right now while I'm freezing to death in this water? What is he doing? And she says, "You can't hear me, you can't hear me. I'm here in the room with you now. You can't hear what I'm saying. You don't hear what I'm saying, do you?" So you can imagine her almost imagining herself like there, like trying to talk to him, almost like a ghost, trying to talk to him, communicate with him. But as much as she may scream, as much as she may try, he's not going to hear her. So at this point, she is now just a reluctant observer. At this point in the main story, her imagination has, I mean, I guess it's taken over before, but her imagination has really taken over to the point that we're not even talking about the literal story anymore. We're talking about Kate Bush's mind and what's going on in her mind and her psyche. Is it psyche or psych? Psych! Now, some of the best storytelling to me is in the end of this song, where she is begging repeatedly, you know, don't ignore me, let me in, etc., etc., etc. Now, near the ending of this song, all of that gets so distorted and so messed up that I'm really glad I have the lyrics here so I can follow. But it's so cool because imagine her sitting there screaming, trying to get his attention in any way possible, just so desperate for so much as a glance. But she begins to fade away. Her voice begins to be distorted, almost like she's losing connection to the world. Her connection to the material world is beginning to fade. I love that. Now, what she's saying there is, "Help me, baby, help me, talk to me, listen to me." It's all distorted, it's reversed, it's pitched, it's whatever, but that's what she's saying. The desperation, the loss of connection. Woo, perfect. Now, just before that happened, you know what was heard in the background? A seagull. Why? Because the reality is kicking back in. She's waking up from these dreams. This is like Inception in music form. This is awesome. Now, as the song turns more upbeat into the Jig of Life, first of all, I like the Irish influence. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think it's cheesy. I like Irish music. I like Celtic influence music. I'm cool with that. After that lost connection from her previous dream, now it's almost like we get a little bit of a revitalization in Kate's spirit, in Kate, holding on to maybe a little more hope. Did my thing just go out? Nope, it didn't. Perhaps getting a little bit of a kick of inspiration to live, i.e. the Jig of Life, which matches the very upbeat nature, the very dancey nature of this song. Sing it, girl. Yes, the way that she says, "Now is the place where the crossroads meet. Will you look into the future?" You have a choice, Kate, at this point. You can hold on for dear life and try to live, or you can allow yourself to die. You're at the crossroads. What do you want to do? Now, just taking out this song, I'm getting she wants to live. She even says, "Never, never say goodbye. Let me live. Come on and let me live, girl. Come on and let me live." Like she's motivating herself. She's in this self-motivational circle right now. I love Kate's cadence in this song. The na 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 na. Just the self-motivation that she has here is like motivating me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is so inspirational. I really like the way that she does this. Interesting little bit of playfulness in her voice there, and also starring John Carter Bush. Gotta be honest, I don't know who that is. But I do like how it's almost like Kate has chosen her fate. Kate has chosen where her moment's going to be. I'm going to put this moment here. Now I'm going to put this behind me, and I'm going to take my future and my hope, and I'm going to put it here. Something to look forward to. I like the way that it is vocalized, that acceptance. Very interesting change of pace there vocally. I don't know if I like it or not. I accept it. It's almost a rap-like cadence that he brings to the music, but it does match with the music, so I gotta give it credit for that. But even the lyrics with that are one of encouragement and one of like, look what's waiting for you when you get here. Catch us now, for I am your future. A kiss on the wind and we'll make the land. Come over here to where wind lingers, waiting in this empty world. So it's almost like it's a breath of fresh air, a breath of encouragement, a wind beneath her wings to help her get through this moment. Hello Earth is one of the most beautiful songs that I've heard from her. Absolutely 100%. And likely one of my favorites on this side.
Just my heart, and there's something
I really like the empowerment built there. First of all, this song sounded a little bit like, when it got into the beat, sounded a little bit like Running Up That Hill, but you know, it did. I thought it was gonna reprise that for a second. I was like, oh wow, she's really connecting like everything. But the empowerment, the opening of her eyes, the self-realization, she is in a very weakened state, but there's still a little bit of brightness that she's hoping and looking towards. Now this song I'm gonna have to look a little bit more into like the first half of it, because I'm a little bit lost with Hello Earth. Where is she, or where does she see herself, Hello Earth? Like, she has to see herself in space or somewhere away from the Earth, even the way that she says, with just one hand held up high, I can block you out, I can blot out the Earth. Just like if you put your hand in front of the moon or the sun, you can like block it. And the way that she fights her own mind, the way that she fights her own psychology, where she says, all of you sailors, she's screaming, like you can hear Kate purely singing, all of you sailors, all lifesavers, all you cruisers, all you fishermen, head for home. She's telling the search party, wherever you are, just leave, just let me die here, you can't find me, I'm giving up, I'm done. And in between that, we get the background vocals saying, get out of the waves, get out of the water. So we see this like perfectly encapsulated internal conflict, this perfect contrast between hope and despair, giving up and reaching for a better future, reaching for life. This might be the most powerful song to me. This is like at the very climax of her story, of her in the waves. And this singing that comes in a few times, to me, it sounds like the sailors, like how they're still looking for her, how maybe they're tired from looking for her for so long, they're weary at this point, they're a little sea-logged, but they haven't given up yet. There's a mournful tone in the way it's sung, but they haven't given up yet. And this part of the song sounds very like the ambient section of Echoes to me, because it sounds so submerged, it sounds so underwater. I really like the ambience, that very submerged sounding, slightly distorted underwater sound. I like it. I like the way it captures her situation, perhaps at this point, as even the voices, perhaps above water, become distorted to her as she begins to sink. And at the end of this song on Hello Earth, there's a little bit of German here that I do have translated. It's translated deeper, 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 somewhere in the depth, there is light. So somewhere in the underbelly of hopelessness, somewhere in the very depths of despair, there's still a little bit of hope. There's still a little bit of light. And this is so cool to me. I like how immediately from this depth, as the song continues into the last song, I love the transition. The transition is so cool to me. I think that is the most jarring, but well-placed transition. That is a perfect transition. Why? Because it's like she did fall asleep. Maybe she did sink. Maybe she did give up. Maybe she was down. She was done. But the morning fog, the title of the song, The Morning Fog, there is a big time gap between Hello Earth and the morning fog, narratively, in this story. She fell asleep, the screen fades to black like in a movie, but when she wakes up, the morning fog, sunlight, the night is over, she survived. And the music, it's relief. The music is relief. The guitar playfully plucking along the bass. I love it. So warm. It's like sunlight on your skin. The light begin to bleed, begin to breathe, begin to speak. Do you know what? I love you better now. As she opens her eyes, the light begins to bleed in. She begins to feel, like I said, the warmth in her skin. Perhaps like the warmth of like a blanket over her, no longer in the cold. She begins to breathe again, which had to mean she stopped. She begins to see. She begins to speak again. You can imagine her lips quivering, probably blue, because she was in the freezing water and she's just beginning to warm up and talk. Like, and the music, I love that. You know, I've talked about like other songs and other transitions between songs, between moments, but the way that it's done here, I'm just fascinated and I'm just captured by the way that it transitioned. I thought that was so cool. I thought that was so well done, like the first time I listened to it, which was like, what, 20 minutes ago? Probably more now. But like, I love it. That's something I could really look forward to all the time. I love it. Like, the song is just so happy now. It's just so like, it's so inviting. It's just, like I said, it's relief. This is relief in the song. I love that. The morning fog, after all of that, the fog, the morning fog is the hope. Not like the ray of the sun, nothing like that. Just the morning fog. It's something so simple that everyone else would probably just be like, oh, you know, it's foggy outside. Ugh. But for Kate in this position, that's her hope. That's her light. We see that like her worldview now after this experience has changed. How she's so appreciative of everything. She's so thankful. She says, I'm falling and I'd love to hold you now. I'd kiss the ground. I'd tell my mother. I'd tell my father. I'd tell my loved ones. I'd tell my brothers how much I love them. So in the end, it seems to be a good ending. She is rescued and she comes out of it, of course, happy that she's alive, so much more appreciative of life and perhaps the fragileness of it. The fragility. Fragility. I should have said the fragility of life, but you know. Even the bass gets a few licks in there. Did you hear that? And the background vocals, of course, much more happy, much more inspired and joyful at this point. Of course, way out of the depths that they were in before. One thing I really want to say just before I begin to wrap this up is I think that a lot of credit, an immense amount of credit for this song, for this suite, and really for the whole album has to go to the producers, has to go to the mixers, the recordings themselves. I don't know how much Kate Bush was involved in the actual production. For all I know, she could be like the one doing everything. For all I know, it could be like other people doing it. Regardless though, that's besides the point. But a lot of credit does need to go to the production because that really added to the whole experience. And there's so much personnel I'm looking through on here that contributed so much to this album, that contributed to making Kate Bush's creative dream perhaps come true. She had so much talent on here that I think it's amazing what she was able to accomplish. It's really nice to be able to see such a full-fledged narrative and story being built from her. I understand the hype, and I'm so happy to now have said that I have listened to Hounds of Love by Kate Bush. Check it off of the list, finally. Guys, to be honest, I think I've talked enough for a first listen. I can see that this is a masterpiece. This was really cool. I really just love the way it's been built. This is something that I can see myself, but also so many future, and I guess present and past, producers and musicians and other artists looking at just how you take an idea and build it into something grand. The architecture of this song is immaculate. I just love everything about it. It's actually really cool. There's some parts I like a little better than others, but maybe we'll talk about that later. Please, I want to know your thoughts on The Ninth Wave by Kate Bush. Thank you guys so much for your patience in me getting this to you. Thank you so much for watching this. I don't know how much of it you watched. Maybe you skipped some parts, maybe not. I don't know. But I hope that you enjoyed whatever you did watch. I can't thank you enough for the support you've given me, for sharing the video. Please, 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 if there's one thing I ask, if you enjoy any of this video or any of the videos on the channel, please share it with others. You can like the video, you can subscribe the video. I also thank you guys for your donations. It does help me out a lot. Guys, I'm ending it. You can join me on Twitter. You can join me in the comments down below. I hope that you're having a sensational day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.